Professor Patrick Locke Odieno Lumumba, a name synonymous with uncompromising truth and incisive critique of African governance, has consistently identified corruption as the most insidious cancer eating away at the continent's potential. More than merely decrying individual acts of graft, Lumumba meticulously exposes the system that feeds corruption, laying bare the intricate web of historical, political, legal, and societal factors that allow this destructive vice to flourish. For Lumumba, corruption in Africa is not an accident or a mere aberration. It is a deeply embedded, systemic phenomenon, often perpetuated by those entrusted with safeguarding the public good. He argues that the roots of this system can be traced back to the colonial era, where institutions were designed to extract resources for the benefit of external powers, rather than to serve the local populace. This extractive mentality, he posits, was regrettably inherited and adapted by a significant portion of the post-independence African elite. One of the central pillars of the corrupt system, according to Lumumba, is the emasculation of institutions. He frequently laments how crucial pillars of governance, the judiciary, parliament, civil service, and even law enforcement agencies, are deliberately weakened, undermined, or co-opted to serve narrow, selfish interests. When the institutions meant to uphold the rule of law and ensure accountability are themselves compromised, the path for corruption becomes wide open. Justice is delayed or denied, laws are selectively enforced, and public resources are siphoned off with impunity. Related to this is the lack of political will. Lumumba repeatedly stresses that while anti-corruption laws and agencies may exist on paper, their effectiveness is crippled by a profound absence of genuine commitment from the very top. He famously quips that in Africa, they hang the petty thieves and elect the great ones into public offices. This sarcastic but poignant observation underscores his belief that corruption thrives because those with the power to fight it are often the greatest beneficiaries of the system. Political leaders, he contends, often feared dismantling the corrupt structures because it would undermine their own patronage networks and sources of illicit wealth. Lumumba also points to the centralized nature of state power in many African countries, often a legacy of colonial administration and the post-independent strongman syndrome. When power is concentrated in the hands of a few, with minimal checks and balances, it creates fertile ground for abuse. This omnipotent state can easily become an instrument for personal enrichment, where access to public office is seen not as a call to service, but as an opportunity for self-aggrandizement. The politics of the belly is another concept Lumumba uses to describe the desperate scramble for resources and positions, often fueled by poverty and a winner-takes-all political culture. This encourages clientelism, patronage, and nepotism, where public appointments are made based on loyalty and ethnic affiliation rather than merit. Such practices not only breed inefficiency, but also create an environment where individuals feel compelled to recoup their investment in securing power through corrupt means, further entrenching the system. Furthermore, Lumumba highlights the social acceptance and normalization of corruption in some quarters. He observes with dismay how illicit wealth is often celebrated rather than condemned, and how those who stand against corruption are often ostracized or even persecuted. This perverse societal value system, where the corrupt are canonized and anti-corruption warriors are demonized, makes it exceedingly difficult to challenge the status quo. He attributes this, in part, to widespread poverty and a sense of hopelessness, where desperate citizens might view corruption as their only means of survival or advancement. Lumumba also touches upon the role of external actors in perpetuating the system of corruption. While he primarily focuses on internal dynamics, he does not shy away from critiquing multinational corporations, international financial institutions, and foreign governments that either actively participate in corrupt schemes, e.g., bribery, illicit financial flows, or turn a blind eye to them for strategic or economic gain. He argues that illicit financial flows from Africa, often proceeds of corruption, far exceed the aid flowing into the continent, illustrating how the continent is being bled dry by a globally interconnected system. His tenure as the director of the Kenya Anti-Corruption Commission, KCC, provided him with first-hand experience of the formidable challenges in combating this systemic vice. He understood that fighting corruption was not merely about apprehending individuals, but about dismantling the entrenched networks and powerful vested interests that benefit from it. His public speeches from that period, and indeed his ongoing discourse, are infused with the frustration of encountering a system designed to resist change, where he who chooses to stand in the way of the train of corruption is courting suicide. Despite this bleak diagnosis, Lumumba's message is never one of despair. He consistently calls for a re-energized fight against corruption, emphasizing the need for robust institutions, unwavering political will, and a fundamental shift in societal values. He urges citizens to demand accountability, for the youth to be the vanguards of change, and for leaders to embrace servant leadership. For Lumumba, exposing the system that feeds corruption is the first critical step towards its eventual dismantling, a necessary painful truth that must be confronted if Africa is to truly realize its immense potential.